I'm Lisa. Welcome back to this channel. Today we are talking about 8 expensive entrepreneur errors, which has so many E's in it. But all of these mistakes are very, very common. So watch through to the end, find out if you're making any of them, more than one of them, hopefully not all of them. But I'll also be giving you practical advice about how to avoid them or fix them. And before we launch into that, if you've been here before, then you know that I work with dogs. Dogs are France's leading online accountants, and if and when I say during this video, speak with your accountant or use an accounting app or use an invoicing app, then just know that Dogs can provide you with all of these services for a maximum of 129 euros a month. The link is in the description. It will give you 2 months free, so don't hesitate to use it. All right, number 1, mixing up personal and professional expenses. Hopefully you all know that no, you cannot go shopping with your company credit card. That's a very bad look and we don't do it. But it's amazing how many people have the opposite problem and they use their personal money to buy professional expenses. The classic example would be a telephone. Telephones cost like €1,000. So if you buy that out of your personal money when it's clearly something that you use for work, well then not only can you not deduct the expense, but also you can't even claim back the VAT. So why would you do that? Telephones are not the only thing, obviously. There are other things that can be deducted as expenses. If you're not sure if something can be classed as a professional expense, then check with your accountant. And once you are sure, then to avoid any genuine confusion, the fix is very easy. You need 2 separate credit cards, one personal, one professional, and never, never, never go shopping with the wrong one in your pocket. Number 2, not logging expenses regularly. This is awful and it happens so often. How many times have you bought something, you just shoved the receipt away somewhere and said, I'll log it later. And then you get to like February the following year and your accountant calls you up and says, hey, what was that €47.20 that you spent on the 15th of April? Well, you probably, if you're like me, can't even remember what you had for dinner last night. So remembering what that €47.20 was, the impossible task, and you can't claim it back. Believe me, I've done a lot of accounting data entry, and if you can't justify it, then you can't claim it. So not only do you lose out on the deductible expense, but it's also going to have a domino effect on your profit and loss, and therefore also on the amount of tax that you have due, and potentially also on the amount of social charges that you have due. So this can be a very expensive error, which you don't want to find yourself with. And the fix is very simple. You need to log your expenses regularly. At the worst, you can do this with an Excel worksheet and just make sure you fill it in at least once a week. If not, if you can't do it every day, do it at least once a week. But the easiest thing is to have an accounting app that logs your expenses as you go along. And not only will you not find yourself with this problem, but you will also, because you're logging your expenses as you go along, you will also have a constant view of exactly how much profit or how much loss you've made at any point during the year, which is a great piece of information to have. Number 3, incorrect invoicing. We talked about this in my last video. It's 2024, we can't go on with the invoices in Word or in Excel. The opportunities for error are enormous. And each error and each missing line, each duplication, each gap in your invoicing, each individual mistake has an individual fine attached to it. So if you keep producing incorrect invoices, you can find yourself with a huge fine. And not only that, but it's the perfect opportunity for an invitation to tea with the tax inspector, which may be your idea of fun, but personally I would rather take a pass on it. So to avoid this, the fix is super simple. Just get yourself an invoicing app. There are tons of them around. Some of them are paying, some of them are free. Dogs is free, but use any of them. Just use one of them. Number 4, not making the most of your deductible expenses. So coming back to this again, and I have actually already made videos about this. I made this one and also this one. If you have a limited company and you are working from home, then you should be renting your home office to your company. Yes, you will pay income tax on the revenue. Yes, you will pay CSG on the revenue. But even then, it still offers many worthwhile advantages. And then coming back to that telephone again, but not just the telephone. If you have bought things with your personal money that your business uses, telephone, computer, tools, machinery, equipment, desks, chairs, anything, there are so many things, then your business should be buying those things from you. And even if your business can't afford to pay you for them at the moment, then it will be written up as a debt that your business has towards you. And once your business can afford to start paying you off, then those expenses will be completely tax deductible for your business, which is obviously advantageous for your business. But for you, it's also revenue that is exempt from income tax and from social charges and from CSG. So why would you not do it? It's not very often that the tax office offers us a gift, and not making the most of it is really the very opposite of entrepreneurial. So don't do that. The fix is very simple. Give yourself 20 minutes, write a list of all of the things that your business should be buying or renting from you, and I think you'll find that you've probably got more than you thought you did. Number 5, not respecting the tax calendar. This can be very expensive because every time you're late with something, the tax office can add interest on. Do you know that even if you're only 1 day late with your VAT payments, the tax office can add on 10% interest, and you may get away with it once, but you won't get away with it twice. So, and also if you keep on doing it, then they're going to want to have a chat with you. And here I do have to mention dogs because the fix is so easy. Just click on calendrier fiscal. You'll have to indicate what statut juridique you have. So if you are an entreprise individuelle, if you're an SARL, whatever you are, you need to indicate that. And your personalized tax calendar will pop up for you. And all you have to do is download it if you want to print it out, or if you want to keep it pinned to your desktop, wherever it's going to be the most use to you. And you will never be late with the tax payment again. Number 6. Logging your expenses incorrectly. So we've talked about mixing up your expenses, and we've talked about being late with logging your expenses, but we haven't talked about logging your expenses incorrectly. And this is another problem. Imagine that you buy something new, a computer, a tool, whatever, and you put that down as an expense so that you can deduct its whole value in 1 year. But as it turns out, it should not be logged as an expense, it should be logged as a depreciable asset, which will have an effect on the amount of profit or loss you've made in that particular year, and therefore on the amount of tax social charges should be due. If you're not sure if something is a deductible expense or if it's a depreciable asset, then you need to consult with your expert comptable, who will know. And not only will they know, but they'll also tell you how long the depreciation period for that particular item is, if you should depreciate it an equal amount over each year, or if it would be better to weight it more at the beginning. This is stuff that you can't really make up. You can't improvise that. So you need to talk with an expert, and that's the only thing you can do. Number 7, not knowing how much profit or loss you've made. This is crazy how many people have to wait until March of the following year for their accountant to finish doing their accounts just to find out how much profit or loss they made in the previous year. And obviously if you've made a loss, well, that's the kind of nasty surprise that you would rather be forewarned about, because nobody wants that as a nasty surprise. But even if you've made way more profit than you thought you were going to, bizarrely, that can also be a problem. When you end up with much more profit than you had imagined, then you will also necessarily be paying much more tax than you had imagined, and potentially also much more social charges than you had imagined. Whereas if you had known in September or October of the previous year that you were heading for this particular result, then you could have made a plan for that extra money. You could have made some investments. You could have given yourself a bonus. You could have contributed towards a tax-deductible private pension scheme. You could have made any number of decisions that would have been more advantageous to you than just giving that money away to URSSAF and the tax office. But if you only find out in March of the following year, well, then you can't go back and redistribute that money. It's too late. That exercise has closed now. So you need to know before the end of the year how much profit or loss you're heading for. And if you don't have an app, obviously that's the best thing if you have an app that's going to let you know all the time. But if you don't have that, if you have a classic setup where you have a local expert comptable, then you need to get in touch with them in September or October and say, give me a situation comptable. And when you have that, then you can plan and you can make decisions about that extra money, which are going to be way more advantageous to you than just giving it away. And number 8, and we have talked about this before, is choosing or staying in the wrong business structure. If you are an entreprise individuelle, but you should actually be an SARL, or if you are a micro and you should actually be a SASU, well then you are literally throwing money away. And the fix for this is really simple. All you need to do is click on subscribe and watch all the other videos that I've already made about this subject. And I'll see you again soon.